Good morning. How are you this morning? I hope that you guys are doing well. Yeah, weather is really hot and humid. It's not a typical California, but when I heard of the news, and it's a lot happening here and there. So I read about that there was a flood in North Carolina, and then at least 8 people died, and then still, yeah, some where's it, Virginia, Georgia, something like that. I watched the YouTube yesterday, and then it snowed. It's really weird. Maybe it's from the climate change, or I don't know what is the most big contribution, but still people are debating about climate change, and so which we don't know which way is best, but sometimes we try to do something, but they ignore the small things and they try to do the big things. But think about our life. It's really related to the small things, and it's accumulated impact on our life, right? And sometimes we cannot handle it, and then what? It will influence our life for life. So that's why people are struggling in life, and then so they have to deal a lot of issues, and then maybe that's why they need a counselor and therapist. And sometimes we go to therapist because I have problems and psychological issues and psychiatric issues, psychotic issues, and then that's why people are going to psychology. Sometimes psychologists, and they got the psychotherapy, right? Sometimes they don't have any problem, they don't have issues, but sometimes they wanna make the life more meaningful and purpose driven, and then they cannot find the purpose of life. They don't have any problems. I mean, psychologically and physically, but still people are looking for someone who can help, right? That is today's topic about another psychotherapies, and then maybe this one we call existential therapy, maybe counseling. Therapy means we deal with someone who has mental or psychological issues, but counseling usually is to help people or helps people who are just struggling, make a good decision and make a good choice like this. And then it's not people who are affected the past experience and psychologically struggling, but this is for the normal. It's kind of normal people, even though you don't have any psychological phenomena, but still go to counselor, and then you can talk about and you can get an insight of your life. That's the existential counseling. For me, it's rather than call counseling is better than the therapy. But still, if you Google it, there's a lot of the existential therapy, right? Instead of counseling. And this is before we start, and I hope that you guys remember that. What is the humanistic therapy, right? Based on the humanism, right? And last time we learned about what was the people we start as a person-centered therapy, and existential therapy is one of the humanistic therapy, and also really give credit to human being have ability to choose and take responsibilities, and that can do something, right? Human can do something without any specific therapeutic skill techniques, and then mean that it's not much specific techniques like psychoanalysis and aliens, right? But still, it's really important, right? Existentialism, was existential therapy counseling is based on the existentialism. Have you taken a philosophy class about maybe introduction of your philosophy? Maybe you can learn about existentialism. This is existentialism is based on that existential therapy is based on the existentialism. It came out around the end of 19th centuries, and it's really popular in 20th centuries. And European philosopher shared an emphasis on the human subject. Even though maybe there is some different opinion, different kind of theory about thought, but still there is really try to explore human beings. And then 1900, 1900, think about what people are going through. And we say industrial revolution influenced a lot of people's life and changed their society, right? But on the other side, what happened? Humans are struggling, right? And sometimes it's really miserable though. And so. And usually we are thinking about question about human being, right? Who human beings are. So this starts from the keyboard, and then Friedrich Nietzsche's, and then Fyodor, Dostoevsky, and all that they challenge about the rationalism. Henry explained everything with your reason and your reasoning and rational mind. That is, they study and they concerned themselves with the problem of meaning. It's not sometimes we cannot solve a problem with rationality, right? Our logic, even though I know there's a logic, nowadays logic is kind of common sense to everybody, right? And then we try to solve the problem with logic, but sometimes it doesn't work. Even though logic is really important and give you give us a reasonable ground and explanation, but sometimes it doesn't work. That's why existentialism is asking about what's the purpose of life, what is the human being, and who is the human being, and what is the choices and freedoms and free wills, like this. And 20th century, so started at the end of the 19th century, but 20th centuries, and then here is Sartre and Albert Camus and Martin Heidegger and Simon de Beauvoir and Karl Jasper and Gabriel Marcel and Paul Tillich. There's a really famous existentialist, existential philosophers. Especially just think about World War I and World War II. We try to improve society and humanity. So So we put a lot of effort, right, to develop the economies and to improve environment, but still World War One and World War Two, how many people died? How miserable to human being. That's why they are passionate about who human being, who we are. So when hard things, it's really kind of things comes upon our life, and then people are thinking more about what it means to us. From theories, a lot of theories try to explain by explaining theories and what. But beyond the theory, what is meant to kind of be an essential question about human being. That is the existentialism, right? So basic proposition is what? Existence precedes essence. Usually, as a modernism really focus on the essence. But after modernism is really what postmodernism focus what? Existential existence. If you not exist, nothing is here. That's why I really focus on the self. I don't know, Rene Descartes and he's one of your past known philosophers, and he said, cogito ergo sum. That's really important Copernicus ground, like change from the kind of essence focus to what? Existence. He said, I think, therefore I am. If you don't think who you are, and you are not existing anymore. There's a big turning around from that's the basic proposition is existence precedes essence. Right? People maybe argue you are there, that's why you can think. That's a modernist modern philosophers thinking, traditional thinking, but they say no. Even though we are there, we really think about who we are and nothing existing. That is a basic philosophies, and they really try to explain about absurd life. And the absurd kind of meaning the idea is that there is no meaning in the world beyond what we give it. Right? So we don't label any values, any meaning in it, nothing. The meaninglessness also, what is the meaninglessness about what? The amoralities and unfairness of the world. That is absurd. They try to, human beings are living in that environment, in the context, right? So people really confront these situations. What about practicity? Some things that are beyond what we, practice is kind of, is the, there is kind of, something is there. That's why that fact we cannot imagine beyond, right? So this is usually related to the past, and then we can see back and it was there. But if we see little bit different perspective, by little bit different perspective, and they really focus on the past and then how influence and how we are going through. And then what about future? Not much about the future, but always think about how they are kind of define himself, temporarily by in the light of the past, right? And what about what they really thinking about the authenticity? What's authenticity? Who is your true being, right? So maybe authenticity and then who we are and then your behavior, your speaking, everything is aligned with you, why you are, right? That is really they are concerned about it. But existentialism is a philosophical theory or approach which emphasizes the existence of individual person as a free and responsible agent. Really free, but you are responsible agent, determining their own development of thought, act of the will, through the act of the will. It's not just without responsibility, and they cannot pursue, they cannot have any freedom to do. So I know you have a free will, freedom to do something, but take responsibility. Like nowadays, it's kind of abortion is really issues, right? And existentialism, according to existentialism, how you understand abortion? Maybe we can say that we love each other and we had the joint course, right? To give our heart. But what is the responsibility? Well, not only the abortion issues and nowadays it's a society, whatever you like, whatever feel good for you, and then just do it. So after the what's your responsibilities? Maybe this is all your thought or philosophy, but still it's a good way to exploring who we are. And we are living in society, right? We are living together. We are social and live together, and then I cannot live by myself. And then what is when I live together, and what is my responsibility? What is the other's responsibility? So sometimes it's hard to divide it. That was law is there. So commonly agree with and bold, by bolding, and then we agree with the what. That's probably good for society, and they make a law, but still a lot of people don't follow the law, right? It's one of the easy explanation about freedom and responsibility. So a form of philosophical inquiry that exploring the problem of human existence, right? Human existence, and then really focus on the human beings, thinking and feeling and acting. And that's why we kind of, the humans, confront the situation that we cannot explain. Why is it from? Why is here from? So what is the result from? And then we gotta think about the human beings, like World War I and World War II, and think about industrial revolutions. And we have a lot of good things, but still we killed with the World War I and World War II is how many people died. It's really for humanity. So existentialism is kind of brings up the existential angst, versus human beings' agonies, angst, right? Sense of dread and disoriented and confused and anxiety in the meaningless and absurd world. How can we behave like this? So usually, I already told you, and so existential thinkers explores meaning of life, the purpose of life, and value of human beings, human existence. Maybe it's a little bit different from the materialistic society, right? Okay, I'm gonna make a lot of money for myself, but sometimes there's a lot of scams out there, right? And a lot of email scams and phone scams. They manipulate people's weakness, and they kind of exploit people's mind. That is human beings. How can you answer like a human being? The nature of a human being. So humanism is a lot of credit, give them credit on human being, right? Our nature, who can do good. Well, I don't know, but maybe we can have ability to solve the problems, and we can confront the issue. Yeah, we have ability to confront the issue that we have, right? That's maybe there is ability, but some people have it, some people don't have it, right? That's why maybe if we don't have ability because of the influence of the past and then any past experience, and then try to help them confront the situation and find the purpose of life and meaning and let them go forward. That's the therapy. So existential psychotherapy is a form of psychotherapy based on the model of human nature and experience developed by existential tradition of European philosophy, right? And that's a kind of summary that what I talked to you guys. And so it really focus on concepts that are universally applicable. It's not universally applicable to human existence, including death. Human have really anxiety because of that. Everybody should confront death, right? Nobody wanna exempt from that. Freedom, responsibility, the meaning of life like this. And instead of regarding human experience such as anxiety, alienation, and depression like this, existential psychotherapy is see this experience as a natural stage of normal process of human development and maturation. It's normal because everybody wanna grow and was achieve, and then that's a part of life. Right? And sometimes we think about, we define these psychological issues and these mental issues, but sometimes, there is a degree of the issues, but still that's a part of life. Even though you are struggling with anxiety, how can you find the meaning of life, your purpose of life? Maybe whenever you start to do things, whenever you have to make a responsibility, but you have freedom to do, right? Anxiety comes very naturally. So here is existential psychotherapy in facilitating this process of development and maturations, and what? Is existential therapy involves a philosophical exploration of the individual experience, stress on individual freedoms, right? And what? Responsibility to facilitate a higher degree of meaning and well-being in their life. They don't really focus on, they don't focus on what is it? Here was healed psychological problems, right? It's a really different thing. That's why in the beginning I said that it's not people who had psychological issues, psychiatric issues, and they usually have normal people who had was trying to find the meaning of life and purpose of life, and then right. How they understand the human beings? Basically, they are saying that people have a capability to do something, and they have, people are good. That's the basic philosophy that they have. But what about the existentialism's view of human nature? It's the same. First, the capacity of the self-awareness. So people can aware who they are, right? So there is human has freedom. We can aware, and then make a choice, and then and responsibility. They are the foundation of self-awareness. Based on that, this and what's the values, and then what's based on that one, and then you can see who you are. So the greater our awareness, and the greater our possibility for freedom. Still there, but you don't develop the psychological issues from that one. Like, for example, anxieties. But you have anxiety, depression, but still you can move on forward. Here is some example of self-awareness. We are finite, right? We don't live forever. And we do not have unlimited time to do what we want in life. Maybe nowadays, maybe 65 and 62 people are retired, and maybe they have another life after that, but it's still around maybe 80, 90, some people passed away, and some people still struggling in life, nothing to do, maybe on the bed, whole day in facilities. And my father-in-law is around 93, but nothing too much. Right, like that. It's hard to achieve something. Maybe if you are Christians and maybe different stories, maybe 93 still you can do something. Even though maybe you cannot achieve something like visible things, but still as a Christian, you can do something. Like intercessory prayer, you can make your life more meaningful, even though you cannot mobilize well. That's a different understanding of human beings, but but they say we have the potential to take action, not to act, right? And but the action is So we choose our actions. Therefore, we can partially create our own destiny. Maybe partially, if you believe in God's existence, maybe partially, we have a freedom. free will to do, but still God has plan for this one, and you could make your decision, but sometimes life is influenced a lot like our ancestor Adam and Eve. It's totally changed, right? So meaning is the production of discovering how we are thrown or situation in the world, and then through the commitment giving a creativity. That just depends on you. How can you commit? How can you live creative? That's a kind of self-awareness. And then here is, and then as a human being increase, their awareness of the choice available to them, and then they also increase a sense of responsibility for the consequences of these choices. Nowadays, I know I have 2 daughters, and then they are totally different, but one daughter is kind of really intuitive, and really, another totally different though. And some of them, like, I'm a person, when I was young, and then I don't calculate exactly if I don't do this one and what happened. I don't calculate. But as I growing up, and then I always think about what the other side of life. Okay, I'm gonna get a master's degree, and then I'm gonna get a job. And then nowadays, job situation is not good, right? What if I don't get a job with related to my study? What if my next steps? I have to pay the laws, all kind of stuff, right? That's life. So anyway, we can make a choice, and think about the responsibility, the responsibility of the consequences that we, for the choice, right? That is, and we are subject to the loneliness and meaninglessness and emptiness, guilt and isolation. It's a part of life. How can you deal with this? That is related to self-awareness. It's not that is normal for the human beings. And I had 2 daughters, and they left for college. They are year apart. It's the first year, one left, and year after another one left. So we are pretty busy family. So every month, once a month, and we went down to Tijuana and we tried to help a church. And then they are really busy because my older one study music, and my little one play the sports, and then every weekend is so busy. And every summer we went to another part. We went to mission another part of Mexico, like Michoacan and Guadalajara. And before we go, and we gotta prepare. So every Saturday, about 3-4 months, we get together, and 3-4 hours get together, and we gotta prepare. It's a really busy life. And then when they left home, what are you doing now? I'm just sitting on the couch and just waiting for my wife. Almost kind of feel, maybe, I don't know. I didn't feel like depressed, but I don't know what to do at the time, and just waiting for my wife from work. And that is kind of emptiness, right? And sometimes, we have a lot of people, maybe if you are human-oriented and people-oriented, and you like being with the people, and then you can ask the people, and then not many people around you, and you are feeling lonely. Like this, isolated. But that is a part of life. It's awareness. That is one of the big things that human being has a capacity for the self-awareness, right? That is a common example that maybe you have a different idea. And what about freedom and responsibility? That's another proposition for the psycho, yes, also existential psychotherapy. So yeah, it's a book, and people are free to choose alternatives, right? Maybe you can get this job or that job if you have a choice. And therefore play a larger role in shaping their own destiny. That's the understanding of a human being. So your choice, according to the existentialism, your choice influence on your life, shaping, right? Shaping your life. And Schneider, and he said that the freedom implies that we are responsible for our life, for our actions, and for our failure to take action. That is freedom implies. It's not just doing whatever I want. It's not. Even though successful, whether a success or a failure, and then you're gonna take it. Scientists and the perspective of people are condemned to freedom. He said it was a commitment to choose for themselves. That's a commitment. It's not just freedom without responsibilities. So, existential guilt is being aware of having evaded or commitment or having chosen not to choose. That's the wrong choice. That's why sometimes I shouldn't regret is there, and sometimes you have a guilty feeling to those who you support you, those who love you, right? There is still guilty feeling because of their responsibilities. That's why we gotta think that as a human being and they really your freedom, but have a responsibility for the consequence that you have made a choose. So Krug write the existential therapy embraces three values. Here is what he said, and then the freedom to become within the context of natural self-imposed limitation. It's not unlimited freedom. Just think about if you're a student, there's boundaries there. If you are an international student, there's a boundary there. You are really limited. You cannot be like a citizen born here and raised, right? When you go to school and you have to pay a lot. But if you pay a lot and if you don't study, what it means? Freedom, that's why freedom to become within the context of natural or self-imposed limitations. What about the capacity of a reflection of the meaning of our choice? That each human being has it. And just to think about before you wrap up the day and before you go to sleep, maybe on the bed, and you are like, some people lie down right after they fall into sleep. I'm not like a kind of person that maybe sometimes 20 minutes, 30 minutes takes to fall into sleep, and that's why sometimes I think a lot, what did I do today? think about what I did today and what was kind of relationship with others, and then just a reflection time. Sometimes when I pray, I reflect a lot. Sometimes when I read the Bible, I reflect myself. There's a capacity human being has it, right? What about the capacity to act on the choices of that's true. And just think about there is even though human beings have freedom and but try to we often try to escape from our freedom by defining ourselves as a fixed or static entity. And I'm not a kind of person, and then it's not related to me, and then I don't have ability like this. Seems like you don't have ability, or even though capabilities you have, but you don't recognize your capability. Maybe you recognize and ability, but still escaping. Why? You don't want to face what you're gonna have in the future. You paid a lot of things, you commit a lot like this. What about another nature of a human being is a struggle for identity and relationship to others, and try to find out who we are, identify who we are, right? So human beings need to be courage to be, that to make a choice, and sometimes you are afraid of the result and consequences and not jump into, right? And sometimes human beings experience a loneliness. That's a part of life, right? They said, and experience of relating others, and then how you relate to others, and try to define yourself who we are, right? That's the struggling identity, and then especially for second generation or 1.5 generation of immigrant, and they try to define themselves, where they belong to. So American society or Korean society or Chinese, they are very bicultural, and they swing to two different cultures, right? Sometimes there is identity confusion. So you better dealing with try to find who you are, and then at the same find yourself, and then try to relate to others. That's a human's nature. Maybe a lot in different words, and another word, and was should be. What about another proposition is searching for meaning? I don't know how many people nowadays and really sensible, tangible was a trend, and maybe just they kind of satisfied with their feelings, and maybe, I don't know, they try to find a meaning. But a lot of people who have, I don't know whether it's think about seriously, seriously think about your life, and what is life for? What I'm gonna do? What maybe, and after high school, and whether so you have a choice whether you go to college or not, and then what is for? I have questioned a lot for my life, and what I'm doing here in this stage of life. I grew up in Korea, and then I went to seminary school, and then think about why I'm going to seminary school. Try to find the meaning. When I come over here, why I have to go back to the school, college? Why you guys are trying, why did I study psychology? But now, just think about, I want to become a clinical psychologist before, but now I'm a totally different person. I'm not a psychologist, right? I was not interested in studying, like getting to get this degree, but sometimes I don't understand where I am, but try to identify who I am, and I try to identify what I'm doing here at this point. Because I want to give my life meaning. That's why also my faith is take big roles in searching for meaning of life. When you search for meaning, it's always a problem of discarding all the values. Maybe you learn different things and you acknowledge what's going on, and maybe a lot of people just think about like the 60s and 70s and people growing up in that time and influenced by society, and they studied and everything, but they are now it's kind of older people. Well, nowadays it's a lot of challenges, values, right? Sometimes they don't understand. The baby boomers, they have to work hard to make their living. We don't mean that if you kind of a YouTuber and you have your own freelancer jobs, and then we don't say that you don't work, right? But in the eyes of the baby boomers, wow, what are they doing now? Sometimes they never experience kind of things and different things, right? People values are changing. That's one of the problem when you're searching for meaning. Sometimes meaninglessness, but it's another opportunity to create a new meaning. You adjust to new society sometimes, and just think about when your background and growing up in your countries and come over here and then totally different environment. But still, I hope that you guys give kind of new meaning of your life and creating new meanings. Here is Franklin. He is an existentialist, and then 3 ways to kind of discover the meaning, right? It's by doing a deed, so accomplishment or achievement. You can find the meaning. Maybe you're gonna get all A's in the class, and maybe a lot of people try to get a meaning here. And maybe by experience of value, beauty, love, nature, or art. What about weight? What about suffering? Reconciling ourselves to faith. Faith. I don't know if it's a faith, but he said it. It's 3 ways to kind of discover one meaning. And another proposition is anxiety as a conditioning of living. So different from the Freud, and different from the right. And anxiety is kind of normal. It's a part of life. So anxiety arises from one's personal striving to survive and maintain or assert their being, and the feeling anxiety generate are the what? Inevitable aspect of human condition. That's they said, oh, then that's normal. That's normal, but I know it depends on people. So some people cannot deal with anxiety, and some people, that's part of life. It's attitude is different. And there's an anxiety attack, right? So the situation people cannot anything breathe. I don't know the phobia is kind of suddenly come to your in such a situation and then you cannot do anything. But existential anxieties arise as we recognize the realities of our morality, our confrontation with the pains or sufferings, or our need to struggle for survival and our basic for livability. It comes natural in all situations. What if I cannot make it? What if it's not successful for me? So anxiety is seen as a motivational force that helps the people to reach their potential. It's anxiety. It's a different perspective. Oh, you gotta go to psychotherapy and then you gotta overcome this issue. It's not a psychological issue. But nowadays it's like a different aspect. Maybe long time ago we don't develop psychology. Maybe they take it this way. But nowadays, psychology is developed too much. That's my opinion. And feel like they make a human being weak and weak. That's my opinion. What about the awareness of death and non-being? That's really important. Just think about it, what is coming in the future. Eventually, we gotta face it. So a lot of people are really scared about death, and some people really take it naturally. So existentialist does not view death negatively, but holds that awareness of death as a basic human condition, gives a significance to living. We don't know when we're gonna die. That's all right. They are ready for, I don't know whether, they acknowledge and maybe everybody dies. Someday I'm gonna die, right? And remind and make your life more meaningful. That's So that's also really important thing. So distinguishing human characteristics of our ability to grab the reality of the future and the inevitability of the earth. Sometimes they say the fate, but sometimes we cannot do anything with something like that, but still acknowledge it and take it. And instead of scaring and anxious about the death and the what, instead then you commit your life to make it more meaningful, right? That's a basic six and there's a view of human beings, right? And what is the role of the counselor then? Therapy in this. And so each client considers a unique relationship with the counselor, focus on being authentic. They already focus on authentic. with the client, entering into the deep personal sharing relationship. That is a really important thing. So, how can you develop the kind of relationship in the beginning of the counseling? So in this therapy, if a client don't trust you, it's nothing, right? So, and sorry. And counselor models how to be authentic. Okay, so project yourself to the who you are and to as a client, and client really trust you, right? That's kind of authentic to realize our personal potential and to make a decision with the emphasis on mutualities and wholeness and growth, right? Just what is your role? It's a little bit different psychotherapy, and this is not diagnosis of the patients, but they don't use assessment model like that's basic standard of disease, guide of the mental health, and they will use that kind of stuff, standard. That is the counselor's role, right? And be open, you realize personal potential, and then which one you can tackle first to help get out of the situation to be free, and then make a choice, and then take responsibilities. What about goal? What is the goal? What is the goal of your existential psychotherapy? Well, goal of existential psychotherapy or counseling is to have a client take responsibility for their life and life decision. Whether it is successful or not, and don't be scared, and what? They need to learn. They need to learn. And another goal is to develop self-awareness. We know what's it's a life about life and personal capacity and everything. We gotta aware our context, your abilities can do to promote potential and freedom and commitment to better life choices. Just think about it nowadays, in a lot of immigrant families, parents especially want their children to make American dreams, right? Some people say that, I know, they're really nice guys, and the parents raised their son is raised very well. And then he said, it's not a pride for their son because they don't go to medical school and law school, become a doctor, medical doctor, or become a lawyer. That's one of the standard that they have for success. So I told him, no, he's a really nice guy, nice son, and you raised him very well. He's doing his work very well, and he recognized in his work. He got promoted. So another goal is so help a client develop an internal frame of reference, in that you gotta develop your own things, right? Maybe that's the, maybe that's the, another values, new values, creating new values, and maybe new set of worldview, not set of worldview, new set of values, and maybe go a little deeper and kind of change your worldview like this, right? That's really, they don't really help, the therapists help them to be who they are, not being who, to be by people who they see. Right? A lot of people identify themselves by people who see them. They don't have freedom. Always think about them, how people look at me, how people evaluate me like this. There is no freedom for them. So there's own values, own philosophy like this. Who they are. That's why it's really striving for identity. That is the goals. What about and techniques? Techniques, and I think so, there is when you study about techniques and person-centered therapy, and eventually I know there is some ways of the counseling, but not like a psychoanalysis, and there's also interpretation of dreams and pre-association like this, but there's no, but human-centered psychology or psychotherapy is really, question is really important, right? And help them to question and then to do the dialogue, and then find who they are, try to help them to find the direction of life, right? But techniques, and the most common technique used as existential counseling is a relationship with the client. How much client feel what's a counselor's thing, right? How can they trust what's a counselor? There's a common ground or not? That's why it's really important. So, opening section is really crucial for the starting the therapy intention to help the client uncover their difficulty in living. Sometimes they don't feel and they don't know what they are going through. You also provide opportunity for the client to take the stock of strengths and limitation and recognize that therapist's role is not providing empathy or sympathy, but to use the existential approach to mathematically exploring the ability to live. It's not exploring kind of get some therapy, but still explore their life, and then they have to make a good choice to get freedom, right? That is so usually that's why opening section is really different, and then maybe it's another there's a session, I don't know how many sessions you guys have, and then there's a first session, a second, third, and maybe different define yourself, and then maybe first two sessions is opening session, and then you're gonna organize, and then what you wanna do, how can you explore, reveal yourself, how can you understand it, like the people you jump into the main session, so right? I try to find what is a specific way that was a the existential psychotherapies, and what is the techniques, and then if you see the book and it's not a specific techniques, and then in your notes too, but I search it in Google, and then and Google, and then I Googled it, but there's a way that you could see specific way that how can you, while you're engaging with the client, and how can you help them, right? But this is not, you gotta do this, not that way, right? So, and for, the wonderful one is what, exploring the 4 words. First one is exploring the 4 words. Mean the word mean that it's not another globe is there, but still how the clients engage with the societies and with others, right? So as a client, prompt reflection on potentially unsolvable dilemmas and paradox that involve anxiety through their lives, and then they don't know where they need to start from. So that's why counselor kind of leading and kind of reflect this word and this word and this word like this, and then there is a physical word how we relate to our environment and our mortality, and then we're gonna, how can you think about that? And prompting us to ask, right? This one is environment, physically, and maybe working environment and family environment like this, and physical environment, and how can I live my life fully knowing I'm dying at any moment, right? That is kind of exploration, exploring the life, the value of life, and philosophy of life. What about social world and how we relate to others and culture to which we belong? There's American cultures and also Korean cultures, Korean American cultures. Now, there's other cultures there. If your friends and was other ethnic groups and their cultures different, right? Social work. If they are encouraging what's the main issues. If you go to job and what is about. What about you're working mom, working dad, and then you have kids, and then there's a different, what's the social relationship that created by the environment. So, social world prompting, to ask, right, like this, and what are the other people there for? Maybe your friends, your families members, and then like this. What about the personal world? Personal world is how we relate to ourselves, including our imagination, how we see our past and future. That's one of the ways that you can ask. What about spiritual world? Spiritual world is like this, how we relate to the unknown. And what about value systems? And conventional, traditional values and new values, conflicts. How can you do that? And what about vision for ideal world? Like this, and then that's the kind of prompting, what's the counselor or therapist to ask, right? And then, that's for word kind of exploration, and then maybe you can see that what is really dysfunctional, not dysfunctional and full of anxiety, and then kind of and cannot get out of it to be free, right? Because of that one. What about another techniques of mapping the client worldview. Do you know worldview? How you see the world. Worldview is kind of it's learned. It's from your environment, kind of voluntarily, sometimes educations, and then just think about in Korean cultures. And we cannot see the worldview, but based on the worldview you think, you judge, you behave, based on your values, you feel, right? You think, based on what you learn from the beginning of your, from the childhood. And when you're growing up, and different world is open to you in junior high school and college, and maybe there's a little adjustment, but there's a theoretical frame there, and you can judge, you can think, you can behave, right? There's worldview is another thing topic, and we cannot see, but all the way deep down in people's mind and heart, and then gives a basic foundation of it. You see and you judge and evaluate and you behave. So maybe a client worldview consists of their attitude and expectation, assumption with respect to self, others, and the world, right? And a lot of different things. And maybe here is some maybe and there's a way that you can do this, and then worldview is here, like we already four word, and then you can themes and social and cognitive and physical and then social and emotional and what all the kind of related, there's related and knowledge in there, and you can kind of explore and what's from, how they influence their life, or why like this, and then analyze and try to put together why I'm thinking this way, why evaluate this way, and then they can recognize who they are in their worldview. Maybe they can develop a new worldview, mapping through the mappings, and then here is another one. Is like there was a personal and interpersonal, and there was intercultural, and there was a intercultural, like they mean that like America, I mean they just think about and a lot of different cultures, right? And inter-organizational and national, international, like you can approach a different way there. How you think and how you evaluate and how can you behave, right? A lot of different ways. So maybe you could have topics like social, and then just about social boundaries, families, and you could ask about they see how think about families, why, and what about friends, group, what about working, what about like a lot of different areas that relate to our socials, right? Spiritual means that sometimes it's really important, maybe social, in social and spiritual, maybe they could separate, they can put together in different areas, So try to mapping what they are really concerned about, and that's really helpful though, if you're there and visualize and see, and then keep see what is the kind of triggers, or what is the kind of blocks that kind of combine self in what? Anxiety. And another technique is choosing and changing. So during the therapy, one of the basic ideas about client is encouraged to take ownership of their choice. You mean the responsibility, right? So they learn to see their existing reality more clearly and recognize their contribution to the situation. Sometimes, and I know it depends on the society, and always rely on parents, rely on others. There is no any independence, emotionally and maybe financially. That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of that creates a lot of problems, right? And so. Client, it's really, was a therapist encourage client to make a choice and take a responsibility, whether it's successful or not. And it's not successful, and then why? Maybe explore a different way, and then maybe challenge again in a different way, and then maybe see the different aspect of the failure, right? Consequences, and recognize that authentic living requires to take a risk. Just think about if you pretend to be someone and then what? It's hard to live with freedom, right? But sometimes if you want to really free and take a risk about judgment, about evaluation from others. Sometimes you cannot make a lot of money. Your meaning, your purpose in life is different from others. And then you don't have enough money, and then what happens? Sometimes you need to be a minimalist, right? And people who don't understand the minimalism, and what are they doing now? Maybe like a tiny house, and then they sort of live like a small hotel rooms and put everything inside and live there. What about confrontation is also used to existential counselor, and the confrontation is very important. How can you build up your confidence in your life? If you don't confront and you try to avoid and escape from the issues, no way, right? Just to confront the issue that create anxiety in the client and let them make a choice and moving on, and then have more, whether he fails, whether he's successful, success, and then through the process, and then he can know who he is, and then live a life with freedom. That's the humanistic, existential. I know it's a lot of things are similar to the person-centered, because the foundation, philosophy's foundation is the same, right? And there's a basic idea about existential therapies and counseling. Maybe it's really good for people who journey to identify who they are, and then journey for us, trying to find the purpose of life, right? The meaning of their work and all, yeah, all kind of stuff. That is a good point. What about how can we define differentiate existential and then person-centered therapies? Here is some guideline that I got. Maybe sometimes if you forget the last week lectures, maybe somehow it's not connected with this comparison, but still here it is. It's a really basic. So existential therapy is what? Really try to help the client to get a freedom within the limitation. One of the examples is that even though their capacity is there, but still, right? What about the person-centered and growth and expansion and development potential? Do not Abraham Maslow and there's a basic and the level of the needs and self-actualizations like this. Yeah. So it's a grow little by little, right? Little bit different understanding. What about and there is you have to deal with maybe anxiety and guilt and doubt, existential guilt, and because you cannot get there, and then people are kind of don't have freedom. That's why they have to deal this one. But person-centered really optimism, and they really optimistic, and then they have to choose, and they have to keep going on, right? Optimism. And what about this is it's a little bit same as a person with the boundary situations, and you have a boundary, right? But still, how can you maximize your life to find your meaning or purpose of life, and right? What about what? That is a kind of and then you can eventually you can get a freedom, but your personal growth and what self-actualization is a peak experience in their life, right? Not just think about and people are really struggling with the basic, right? And need, and then they have a little bit more belongings and the issues and security issues and belonging issues and self-esteem issues and need, and self-actualization need like this. Really orientation toward the future. So you're gonna expect you're gonna die. We don't know when, but always now aware of the death, and then so orientation toward the future, little bit, not just current situation, and then you gotta embrace, and then kind of through the process, you have to do something, right? But to really focus on the here and now, present time, that's a little bit different. And that is calls for the word, and then think about word, how they understand, right? And they belong to word, and then they cannot escape from the context that we are living in. Take it. But what about the assumption of the actualization tendency? The hierarchical, and there is a base, right? You're gonna want, actualizing, achieve something and something higher things, very different. And therapy is challenging. What is a confrontation? So therapy is facilitating, right? Question and help them to get an insight and then the exploration inner beings, right? That's a little bit different. And it's a little bit same, trust in constructive nature, in the kind of relationship, and then this was same too, human beings, and but there's a struggling, there is a struggling is there still, right? But that's a part of life. They really emphasize the responsibilities and then decision-making choice and then freedom. What about the person-centered, and then we didn't see that one, but still Goldstein and organistic self-regulation, and then we didn't see that one and tried to see the whole, it's not a part of that's the humanistic perspective, right? Try to hold as a human beings, yeah. That's why, and that's when it's a discovery, and then you gotta reshape your life, like world map and meanings and purpose, and it's not a discovery, it's a little bit different. And just a realization of meaning and self-actualization is like Abraham Maslow is not a therapist, but still it's a very big influence of the humanism. So there's a loneliness and the encounter. Just think about loneliness is one of the human's condition there, right? Yeah, in normal life, and then there's a basic comparison, but we don't deep, and then I gave you kind of basic understanding, and then what is the human understanding of human natures, and then therapist roles and goals and basic techniques, and then maybe some of them is the word is not familiar with you, and then maybe if you read more books, and then you can see that one, right? And just I want you to know that just all the way top, 3 is a little bit different, right? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this part is more makes sense for you guys. And makes sense for you guys. That's even though it's the same as a philosophical foundation, and then the approach is a little bit different, right? And person-centered is here and now, and then existential is a little more futuristic. And maybe we can see that the Gestalt, another humanistic therapy, and then we can see how they are different. So, there is a kind of we can kind of going over towards a humanistic therapist, right? So psychotherapy. I hope that you guys understand some of how they do, and maybe if you are interested, maybe some training, like it's not from the psychotherapy, but still it's really doable, right? Even though you don't know basic techniques, but if you understand this one, and then just think about the basic propositions, and then how can you help the people, right? It's doable. So little bit different, but still I hope that you guys get some insight, and then you don't have to do it, but if you are more interested, and then you can go to graduate school, and you can get kind of certificate programs, and then you can train more, and then qualify for the techniques, and then and you can practice. So, but still, even though we are not at the level, maybe I usually really, when I see my tendency, then I'm not a psychotherapist, I'm not Adelians, and then maybe, little bit Adelians and, existential, therapy that I usually use because I'm always thinking about a question about meaning of life or purpose of life, and then, I want to live a life in this way, and then where I am standing at, always question, and then even though I pursue the life, but still sometimes the way is not, what I desired, right? And still I'm standing here. There's a big discrepancy here. How can you give the meaning of your life? What about the goal of your life and purpose of your life, and how can you get there? So there are different interpretation and different perspective of seeing perspective and seeing life. And then I'm a Christian, so even though I struggle a lot, but still try to find the meaning, like existentialism and from the sufferings and from the frankly giving three ways, and then trying to find the meaning and the purpose of life. And maybe some people say, oh, that you're rationalization, but still it's okay, whatever they said, and but existentialism, what? That's okay. I take whatever, I don't focus on the others, but I try to develop the internal reference. That is more important things, right? So, I hope that you guys are looking to yourself, who you are, and why you guys are here, what is the meaning of your life here, and what is the purpose of your life, and where you are for your purpose of life. And maybe if you take the method, was person-centered, how you are growing now, how can you expand more and more, and how can you achieve your actualizations, right? Okay, so that you understand, a little bit deeper understanding of human natures, but still understandable, right? I hope that it helps you a lot to understand yourself, and I hope that you guys have time to reflect yourself, right? All right, and maybe next week we're gonna learn another the therapy, so psychotherapy. So maybe you can see how they are different and what can you learn from that and to reflect yourself. All right, so I hope that you guys are doing well. So it's really hard and humid, and try to cool down yourself. Maybe this weekend, right? Maybe go to beach and then go to mountain, whatever you like, and maybe stay home with the air conditioner. So just take a time with whatever you really want to do to cool down yourself. Have a great week. God bless you. See you next week.